junk journaling can literally be anything for anyone. You don't need a lot of things to get started. Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Mabel, and this is mabeljournals. We talk about books, we talk about journals. And in this video, I am going to be talking about junk journaling. If you've ever been interested in starting, if you've ever thought, what is that? What's going on? Why is everyone doing it? This is the video for you. I have started junk journaling recently, and I figured it might be fun for me as a beginner to kind of give you a quick rundown of what it looks like and what it means. I have a flip through of my most recent completed junk journal, so if you're interested in seeing that, I will put it somewhere in the cards. I will be referencing it in this video at some points as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I am going to be going over 5 different things. The very first is, what is junk journaling? Second, I'm going to talk about why I junk journal and what it means to me. And third, I want to talk about basic tools versus extra supplies. Fourth, I'm going to talk about how to organize those tools, but also how to organize your junk. And the last thing I'm going to cover is how I approach junk journaling and some layouts and ideas that I recommend that you try. Without further ado, let's jump into it. So what is junk journaling? This is a term I've seen everywhere, and I think before I even try and define what it is in my terms, I think it's very important to note that junk journaling can literally be anything for anyone. And junk is such a subjective term that what someone might deem junk, other people might not think is junk. So let's just take that before I even try and define the term. In my opinion, I think junk journaling is a creative hobby where you use scrapbook-like spreads, but you use everyday items. So very mundane, trivial, cheap, inexpensive things instead of using like super expensive supplies or super expensive materials to create spreads. Basically, you're using things in your everyday life to create spreads in your journal. Now, like I mentioned, junk is very, very, very subjective, but a lot of the things that usually fall under this term when we talk about junk journaling is old receipts, movie stubs, packaging, labels, coffee cups, anything that you get in your basic everyday life that you might think of as trash, that you might end up throwing away. That can also be junk journaling. One thing though that I will recommend is if you're using packaging from like a candy wrapper or something, make sure you wash it and clean it very well before you put it in your junk journal. I know that seems kind of basic, but sometimes even something that smells delicious might still have some remnants and can bring like unwanted guests into your journal. So I definitely recommend cleaning that up before you use it. So overall, for junk journaling, the goal is not perfection. It's about creativity, memory collecting, and making something beautiful out of everyday items. Again, junk journaling is anything you want it to be, so there are no rules. But some things that I liked to keep in mind and that I learned along the way is that messy's okay. Blank spaces in your pages is also okay. And unbalanced pages are okay as well. You don't have to fill in every single page perfectly. So why did I start junk journaling? I have always been a person that literally keeps everything. I'm a natural hoarder. Things hold memory for me, and I've always been a person that keeps a memory box, that keeps a box full of all of the birthday cards that I've ever gotten or Christmas cards I've gotten. Like I literally, if you've given me a Christmas card, I 100% can tell you that I have it. Because I'm a person that keeps little items like this, I've always looked for purposes for them, right? I can't keep holding boxes of stuff everywhere. And a journal is naturally the best way for me to keep track of everything and to maintain it. In addition to things, I've also always kept a sticker collection that I've just been so wary of using that now I just like aimlessly use and I feel great about it. If you just love, being creative, it's definitely something that is worth looking into. Being a natural hoarder is the reason why I started. The reason why I keep going is because I've noticed that as I junk journal, I don't try to be perfect. And I know that that sounds like super weird to say, but really a lot of my spreads from my reading journal, I also used to do bullet journaling in the past and I've stopped because I've just been so wary of perfection. A lot of times I try so hard to make things look perfect or look pretty or fill a box that I need to be filled. Junk journaling just throws all of that out the window. I am able to just be creative, to practice my creativity without worrying or without the pressure of trying to be perfect. This has helped me so much in my creative process because I create spontaneous spreads that remind me of why I love being creative in the first place. And having the ability to just put a sticker here or cut this paper out or add this to this type of spread has given me so many more creative skills to add to my already existing collection of journals. So instead of trying to be perfect, I'm just trying to be creative. I'm just trying to learn. I'm just trying to continually add to my creative outlets and my creative ability. And I think that as a person who has always been creative her whole entire life, junk journaling allows me to learn more about myself and learn more about the things that I like without worrying if I'm going to ruin a journal or if I'm going to ruin a page or if I'm going to ruin my materials or anything like that. I'll talk a little bit more about my process and how I approach junk journaling towards the end of this video. The last thing I will say about why I started and why I continue to junk journal is that I can use all of the basic things in my daily life to create spreads. There's beauty in basic things. There's beauty in the mundane. I know it's a very corny term. I feel like when you create spreads on everyday things, you're holding on to that. Like it's a time capsule in and of itself, even if it's not necessarily like a memory page or anything like that. You can very much make your junk journal that if that's what you want. But for me, I love being able to just take like random scraps, random price tags, and add them to a spread and have each small little item in one page mean something. It's just, to me, it's just so fulfilling. Now let's talk about basic tools versus extra supplies. When it comes to junk journaling, there is absolutely no need to have a huge craft collection. You don't need a lot of things to get started and to just have your junk and your journal. So starting off with the most basic, a journal or a notebook. If you have a journal or a notebook that you've started with some sort of idea and you never got to finish it or whatever it might be, that could be the perfect journal to get started with a junk journal. Another option is an outdated planner. So if you have a planner that you had intentions of keeping for the whole entire year and then you started in January and never finished, that's a perfect one for a junk journal too. The journal that I've used so far that I've really enjoyed using is the Lloydstrom 1917 in B5. This is a dot grid soft cover notebook or journal that I really, really like. So my very first junk journal was an Archer and Olive journal. I didn't mention this one because it has a lot of personal items in it, so I don't know if I'm ever going to do a flip through of it. But as you can see, I never even got to finish it because it got so thick and the spine broke off that in order to just maintain this journal, I just decided to stop. And I realized that Archer and Olive journals for the type of junk journaling I want to do doesn't work if it's a hardcover journal. So I moved on very, very quickly to a different type of journal. This is the journal that I have been using that I love. This is, like I said, the Lloydstrom 1917 B5 softcover. This is a dot grid, but you can use aligned, you can use blank pages, you can use anything. I think they have graph as well, but I really like it because it's very flexible. I can continue to make this as bulky as I need to, and it holds up really, really well. Since I completed my last journal, this is my more recent journal. I have not created any pages in this one, so it's completely flat. So this is basically what she starts off like, and then as you start adding pages, it gets bulkier and bulkier. You can use any size journal. Another option is the A5. I purchased this one because I really like the color and I couldn't find it in a B5 size, but this is also another option in terms of a junk journal size. I've seen a lot of people use this. I like the B5 because I tend to have a lot of items that I want to add per page, and so it gives me the flexibility to be creative in a larger space. But I also want to eventually try a smaller size to see if I like it better as well. In addition to my B5 size journals, as I mentioned before, they're very big. So I saw a TikToker use a smaller journal. I'll put her on the page if I can find her. But basically, she got a small Lloydstrom journal like this that flips up. I think it's called A6 Pocket Lloydstrom or something like that. I'll put it on the screen, but basically it's just a small junk journal. So I like this because sometimes I have like small little junk or little like wrappers or something that I want to just do like one spread on, and I don't want a whole B5 size 2-page spread. So this small little journal gives me the flexibility to do that. The next most important thing is an adhesive. So that could mean literally anything that you can use to glue pages onto your journal. The most basic is a glue stick. I like to use this glue stick from Up and Up, which is a Target brand, and this one has worked really, really well. It came in a huge pack, I think of 10 or 20, and one lasts a really, really long time. I used the Elmer's one in the past, but that one dried up too quickly for me, but this one has been working really, really well. Another inexpensive and fairly easy option is tape. I think tape is probably one of my second most used items, especially if I use it for like flip outs or flip ups in my journal. It's nice to have tape or washi tape, but more importantly, just regular, clear, transparent tape. The other type of adhesion that I use is double stick tape. So you can either use a tape runner or just like regular double stick tape. I think double-sided tape is really, really easy to use because of the fact that it's basically like makes anything a sticker if you think about it. And so it's just less bulky, less worrisome. And some items, like I said, don't stick with glue. So having like this type of tape is very useful. The next item I recommend that you have is some sort of scissors. If you don't want to have like sharp objects, like if you're on a flight and they don't let you have scissors, I like to use like a ruler to cut stuff off. I think that that has like a little bit more of a precise cut instead of just like ripping stuff up. But scissors, I like to have a big pair of scissors, and I also like to have like a small pair of scissors like this. The big pair of scissors is good for like big, like thicker items, and the smaller scissor is good for when you're doing like very precise cutouts or you need like very detailed work. I think this works really well. So those are the items that I think are of most basic use. I don't think you need any more than that to start off. The next item would probably be junk, so I'm not even going to mention that. But of course, like I said in the past, it's like old receipts, anything you have laying around. That's basically what the junk is. And so goes without saying, it's definitely something that you're going to need. Pen, pencils, markers, all of that stuff is also important. But I'd say if you want a junk journal, the most important are those three. Now moving on to extra supplies that aren't necessary, but could be fun to include in your journal. Any type of background paper, so like scrapbook paper, sticker paper, wrapping paper, all of that stuff could be super fun to put as your backgrounds if you don't have a lot of junk, or if the junk isn't like enough to have as a background. Other options are washi tape, stickers. I like to use corner cutters. I also like to use label makers. Another thing you can definitely use are these portable little contraptions that print out your photos in real time. Some of them print them out on sticker paper, so you can even use it to make stickers. But I find that this is super fun, especially if you're on the go and you're looking for something that can like capture like actual moments and memories. Again, you absolutely do not need a giant craft collection to get started. The most basic things work fine, but if you're looking for additional things or other things that might be helpful to making your spreads stand out or making them a little bit more fun, these are some options. Now let's talk about really quickly how I organize my supplies. So in terms of like my basic supplies and my extra supplies, if I'm on the go, I like to use a little pouch. This is a Sula pouch. I really like it a lot because it has so many like designated pockets on the inside. So instead of rummaging through my little bag, I can just literally quickly stick it out. Right now it's a little messy, so I'm not going to show it to you too much, but basically it has like a lot of little pockets on the inside where you can place certain items in. And as you go, you can quickly take them out, put them back in, and keep out your creative space organized. If you're on the go, you obviously don't want to take up too much room, so having something like this is super helpful. It also has a bunch of pockets on the outside, so that's really helpful with not even having to open the zipper. Speaking of zipper, it's a very industrialized zipper, so it holds all of your items super well, even if it's like a lot of stuff in there. When I'm not on the go and I'm just at home, I have like a little stationery station that I keep on my desk, and this is super helpful for staying organized. In addition to that, I also have like a little bag where I put all of the scraps. So as you're naturally using scraps and junk, you are going to have a lot of garbage, and you want to have like a little trash can or a little bag where you can easily put in all of that trash so that your space stays clean and it's easy to just continue and be creative as you go along. Speaking of junk, the next thing I want to talk about is how to organize your junk. Now, this is super important. This is something that I did not think about as I started because I was just like, junk, let's just collect it. And as you collect, you realize that it takes up a lot of room. Before you even think about how you organize your junk, you have to think about how you're planning on using your junk. Are you planning on going in chronological order? Are you planning on organizing by color? Are you planning on having things based on their dates or having things based on what the actual item is? This is going to determine how you organize your stuff. I like to keep the most simple system ever. The more complicated your system is, the more overwhelmed you're going to be, and the harder it's going to be to keep up with this hobby. I keep 3 different ways. The first way I like to organize is by color. So I use this accordion type. This is a small little accordion that I can take with me wherever I go, but typically I leave this at home and I put the small junk in here. It has like different color like sections, and for example, this is a yellow section, so anything yellow I'll put in there. This is a blue section, anything blue I'll put in there. This is just like a quick way of me organizing all of my colored things. So as I'm doing my junk journal, I'll think, hey, I need something blue on this side to kind of balance out the page. Let me look at my little accordion binder and see what I have in my blue section. And if there's anything in there that I could add that would give more blue to that section. And I found that this is super effective, especially if I'm like doing just like fun spreads. It just makes it so much easier to keep things organized by color. So for my big stuff, so anything that could be a background or anything like that, I like to have, this is a scrapbook clear box. I got this at Michael's, I think, and I just keep every single big item in here. Usually whenever I get junk, I tend to cut out the part that I want of it. So for example, my big poppy box, I only kept like this portion of it because I know I only want to use this. And this is what I mean, like organizing your junk, but only keeping some of the portions of the junk that you need. I don't need the full box, but this little part of it is enough. And I would just add this to my big junk box and have everything organized in here. If there are items that are smaller that I don't want it to get like lost in this huge truffle of stuff, I have another box, and this is like the last item I use, which is this is an Archer and Olive, a collaboration with Amanda Rach Lee. If you're into bullet journaling, you've heard of her. She's amazing. She has so many cool stuff. I kept this box from their collaboration that they had a while back, and it's just such a fun, pretty box, and I keep all of my like medium, smaller items in here just because it's easier to like look through. As you can see, it's just a bunch of junk, but it's just like medium-sized junk. So it's not like anything that could take up the full page, but it's things that are just like medium-sized that I like to keep. So those are the 3 different things that I use. So the last thing I want to talk about is how I approach junk journaling and some layouts and techniques that we can try. The mindset I have for junk journaling is just junk and moments. I'm not trying to create like a memory keeping time capsule as my junk journal. I just want like simple, mundane moments and simple, mundane things in a journal. And I want to be able to have the freedom to just like express my creativity without worrying about being perfect. And so that's really the motto that I have for every single spread that I do. Sometimes some spreads are based on little events like a coffee date that I had with my husband, or a little trip to the stationery store with my sister, something that's a little bit more simple, but I still want to remember because it still held a special moment in my heart. And so when I think about junk journaling, I think about random moments. I think about little everyday stuff, coffee dates, races, events, reading days, mini trips, things like that. And I even think about like grocery store runs, little moments that create like a nice feeling in my heart, if that makes sense, as corny as that sounds. I focus more on capturing a feeling than trying to be perfect or trying to have a memory, if that makes sense. So when it comes to techniques and layouts that I like to use, I have a very simple and easy process. First thing I start with is my junk. What junk do I want to use? And what do I have? Do I have something that could be used as a background? Do I have a lot of colors? Do I have a lot of different size items, or is everything basically the same size? These are things I think about when I look at my junk. After I figure out what stuff I want to use, then I see, is there anything I could use as a background? If there isn't anything that I can use as a background, do I even want a background? Do I need it? I start laying out all of my items. If I realize, yes, I need some sort of background, that's when I go into my arsenal of scraps that I have. After I added a background, I start with the bigger items and I start pasting bigger items. Then I go to medium-sized items, medium-sized scraps or junk. And then finally at the end, I do small junk. I tend to only paste the background and then just lay all of my items on top before I tape it or before I like glue it on. And then after I finally have like an idea of what I like, then I start pasting items on there. And afterwards, that's when I start adding any embellishments or stickers or washi tape or anything that's not junk. That's when I add it after I've already put the junk. I started off in the beginning just going aimlessly, just doing it randomly, and I still enjoyed it. It was still a fun process, but I just got really overwhelmed. Like the page was just so chaotic in a way that I wasn't liking it, and I ended up like trying to filter like where I went wrong. And I figured out that I liked starting off with just my junk first and then moving on to any additional supplies or any additional embellishments. After I've decided like, hey, I like this, then I glue it. I just go straight to gluing. I don't want to spend too much time moving things around and everything like that. Like I like to quickly get to the point because I don't want to overthink everything. This just makes it a lot more easier because that way I have less stuff in front of me. I feel like the more things I have in front of me, the more overwhelmed I get, especially when I'm trying to just be creative. I can't see my imagination or my creativity if I have too many busy things in front of me. And so that's why I like to work in that process. I think that my process will obviously change with time. It doesn't necessarily have to stay the way that it is forever, but for me, that's what it works for right now. I think the beautiful thing about junk journaling is that you can literally make it whatever it is that you want, and there are no rules. This is simply how I started. This is simply the advice that I give. If you have any questions on anything I've mentioned, let me know in the comments. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I love talking about junk journaling. I love junk journaling. I think it's one of the most fun and less stressful type of hobbies that I have. It does not rely on perfection. It does not rely on anything other than creativity. And it's just so fun and low cost. So if you're looking to start a junk journal, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you already have one. Let me know what your thoughts are on junk journaling in general. I'm just so fascinated by this and I think it's so fun. And that concludes this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there's any type of video that I can do that can help you further along in your junk journaling journey. And thank you so much for staying till the very end. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a good one and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.